A brand new report from Frank Seravalli has revealed exactly what Bruins fans wanted to hear about this year's NHL trade deadline. We have not heard any analysts or reporters really talk too much in detail about this until today, so I'm going to be breaking down what Frank Seravalli said on his podcast and going over what this means for the Bruins here heading into this very busy and more anticipated than the past few off-seasons. So we're going to be talking about all of that here in this video. Now, very quickly, before we jump into it, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. You notice that just over 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of Bruins news coming throughout this offseason and for the remainder of the regular season. You're not going to want to miss what we have to bring. We'll be touching on everything when it does come down to the offseason, every signing that is going to be coming. So be sure to do that, as well as go look at the podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have all of those, all the videos go immediately there. But without any further ado, let's get into our topic today, starting off with what Frank Seravalli had to say on his podcast. So as you see here, this comes from the Daily Faceoff website. The video is also linked there, so be sure to go check it out. Some pretty, nice information to hear, finally, about the Boston Bruins, since we haven't for a while. But Frank Seravalli said the Boston Bruins are dead last in the Eastern Conference. You could say that's good news for the Buffalo Sabres, but Colby, I will throw this at you. The Bruins have done the trade deadline right. Rip the Band-Aid off and trade away 5 pieces from your team, including Brad Marchand. And we have not really heard anybody kind of discuss the Bruins' whole offseason yet, the whole plan going forward. The rebuild. We've seen a lot of people kind of say, yeah, they traded the rest of their team. There's not going to be good this year. But we really did not see or hear any reporters, analysts jump into this a bit more and look at what the Bruins could be doing in this offseason. Now, we've kind of speculated here on the channel what is going to happen. We know we're going to be signing a few players. We know we have a lot of cap space. A lot of younger players are going to be coming up. A lot of those are in Providence for the remainder of the season. And I wanted to really kind of jump into what Frank Seravalli and his guest here had to say. And now we head over to the response from his guest, from Colby Cohen. 100%. They're not going in to tear it fully down. They're not going to trade Charlie McAvoy and David Pastrnak this summer. That's just not going to happen. And you've got Jeremy Swayman. So now that we have the core pieces, you're right. Why not get a top 5 pick? They do not need they do not have a deep prospect pool. Whoever they draft this year will automatically be their top prospect. I give Don Sweeney credit for doing something incredibly unpopular and trading Brad Marchand. I think he will play and play enough games for the Florida Panthers, so it ends up a first-round pick for the Bruins. Now, that's what we were really in question about, is that pick as well. It does seem absolutely like it will be a first-round pick, because he's already returned to the Florida Panthers this season. But given this scenario now for the Boston Bruins, and given what is going to be really going on over the next few weeks and months as we head towards the deadline, it really does seem like Don Sweeney's been making the right decisions. And I was a big advocate for it here, and I know a lot of you guys were on the channel as well, but outside of our comment section and our community posts and live streams and whatnot, I really have not seen too much positivity from Bruins fans about the Don Sweeney moves. And, a lot of us here on the channel, I think we acknowledge that, this season's a wash. There's no point in us going out here and trying to make the playoffs this season. And as you've seen there, now we're last in the Eastern Conference for the first time since 1997. I will get into that one here in a moment now. But when we're looking at right here, the Bruins are currently 28th in the NHL. Of course, the bottom 4 really are not going to be moved apart from the Seattle Kraken. I think the Predators, Blackhawks, and San Jose Sharks are all teams that will at least be in that realm of a 1, 2, 3, or 4 pick. And it does seem like the Bruins are going to be going down below the Kraken as well if this does continue. The Kraken are 1 point behind the Bruins at this point, but still, it really shows that we're almost done. We're almost out of it, and there's no point in trying to get better, and it was a very good decision now looking back on it for the Bruins, and what was going to happen in the offseason was at least a lot more, advanced now, I guess we could say. When it does come in terms of if the Bruins decide to buy, and we had heard Cam Neely and Don Sweeney both talk about, we're not really sure what we're going to do yet when it came down to the Four Nations face-off and a little bit before that. But they did make the right decision, absolutely. We know that Cam Neely and Don Sweeney are really not favored here at this point, but I do commend them, absolutely, for making these tough decisions here at the deadline, and I know a lot of you guys do as well. So I still want to know, has your opinion changed on Don Sweeney at all yet? Do you still want to see him gone out here in this offseason, or do you want to see him take over these next upcoming picks? And we're going to kind of get into a little bit of that later, as well as kind of do a little fun activity. So stick around for the end of the video to find out what that is. But I want to know, do you think that we're going to have Don Sweeney and Cam Neely, or one of the two maybe gone here for this offseason, or do you want to see someone else take over here in this decision-making process in the offseason? Let me know what you think about that. But as you've seen there as well, Flusho Shinzawa put this out on March 14th. He suggested that bolstering the second line for depth forward and suggested adding a left and right winger to skate along recently acquired Casey Mittelstadt if he's able to handle the second line center role. And I think he's fairly been able to do that. And Casey Mittelstadt has been a player that I was very excited for the Bruins to go out and acquire. And when we saw that return, him and Charlie Coyle's deal, 74 games, 38 points. When we saw him come over from the Colorado Avalanche, a lot of people were really still kind of calling him out for not having a great season. Now, Casey Mittelstadt had quite a bit of potential when he came into the NHL. Really did not live up to that necessarily for a lot of his career, but now averaging 17 minutes time on ice still, 38 points in 74 games, I previously mentioned, is still 26 years old, while also having a 56, nearly 57% Corsi this year. He's playing all right, even though it was a Colorado team where he's not getting as much ice time as he is now with the Boston Bruins. He still has that potential there, and I think that the Boston Bruins are going to give him a real opportunity here to take over that second line. And as Fluto Shinzawa mentioned there, adding those two in the offseason, that being one of the bigger plans needed for the offseason, will be able to be managed with the draft for sure and with free agency. So when we do go ahead and take a look at our offense, kind of see what's going on here from the Bruins cap space on X. You see Zacha, Mittelstadt, and Pastrnak there are on that first line for now, and Elias Lindholm is on the second line here, which is still a possibility for next season. I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens, who they go out and get, who gets moved and whatnot, but I think we can really safe to say that Charlie McAvoy, David Pastrnak, Pavel Zacha, Morgan Geekie, a guy who was going to be re-signed for sure, there's no way the Bruins let him walk. They have a pretty good set of lineups here coming up for next season, and I think that they really advanced themselves in a much better position by selling here at the deadline. And I'm very happy to finally see a reporter and analyst speak out about this and commend the Bruins for doing this, because it was a tough decision. I know that in the live stream I had on the deadline, we weren't really big fans of what was going on too much when it came down to trading Brad Marchand, but it makes a lot of sense now. 37 years old, first-round pick, coming back from him. Uncertainty of re-signing him with, the whole contract situation going on there was uncertain. So I do think it ultimately was a much better decision now looking back on it, and it advances them, I will say, years in a rebuild. So I'm a big fan of this as it comes down to it here, but remember, looking at the free agents, there are quite a few who will be able to put some serious work with the Boston Bruins. Now, I'm not going to make any predictions here in this video. There's a few that we've mentioned in the past that I would love to see. Taylor Hall was an option at the deadline. I think that's probably really a little bit out the window now where he's a bit older. The Bruins are trying to heading in a younger direction, but there's a few names here that I certainly would like to see, and I'm going to save this screenshot. This is also from Bruins Cap Space on Twitter or X. I'm going to save this for a future video, and we're really going to take a big, deep breakdown into this when it does come down to it now. But with the Bruins, the way they're built right now, the way that we've seen finally someone speak out about this, I'm very excited about this Bruins offseason. I think it's going to be a lot quicker of a bounce back than people are anticipating already at this point. But now we're going to move on to something a little special here. And I'm going to take a little pause here. I'm going to cut. We're going to be a little edit in the video. I'm going to go up to Tankathon and go on their mock draft simulator and simulate the lottery and see where the Bruins ends up. So I'll see you back here in a minute. All right, so we're now here on Tankathon.com, and you can see the NHL mock draft or lottery right here. I'm going to sim the lottery. We're going to see where we end up, where the Bruins end up, and I'm going to keep on doing this as the Bruins move up and down in position. So right now, still in 5th, but when we move down, if we move down into 4th, I will do another one. So let's sim the lottery here, see what happens. See the Bruins move down to 6. Obviously, it's not what we'd want to happen. We're going to keep on doing this. Hopefully, we move up to 1st. If we move up to 1st here in a video, I got a good feeling about the NHL draft. So right now in 6th on this mock draft here on the sim lottery, but hopefully moving to 1st, and we'll keep on doing this as the weeks go on and we get closer to the NHL draft. And when the season ends, we'll actually have a good idea of where our position is. So that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.